You know what's great? Keyboards. And keyboards are something that I haven't gotten to review a whole lot of as of late. But behind me, if you can at all see it, hoo-ah, I have the WASD or WASD, or probably just WASD code keyboard. They sent me one for review that is a 10-key keyless model and has Cherry MX Blue switches. On their website, they do have a variety of different models of this code keyboard with the 10-key set, with various switches such as browns and things like that, and you can customize them to your own will. I'll mention that a little bit later. My model is Cherry MX Blue and has the 10 keyless thing chopped off the end. Yes, they literally just take the keyboard and chop it off. That's how they make it, obviously, duh. But how did it hold up for me? Did it surpass my expectations? Did it impress me? Was it something new to spice up my desk, or did I go running back to my SteelSeries 6G V2? Let's find out. Well, firstly, this thing is built like a tank. The SteelSeries 6G V2, which is the keyboard I've been coming from, I had a Cherry MX Red option. Is essentially a tank of a keyboard. That's what it's known for. That's what other people have confirmed with me that they consider it to be. And it's not something I ever planned to compare another keyboard to. And yet, that's exactly what I ended up doing with this WASD code keyboard. This thing is built like a tank as well. It is hefty, it is durable, it has very little flex to it, and it is very heavy as well. It is a tank. And you can tell it's built very, very well. It's sealed up, nothing bouncing around, nothing loose, nothing fragile feeling in the slightest. I feel like I could hit somebody over the head with it and kill them. So that's a very good safety feature in case somebody breaks into my apartment. In terms of physical features, it does of course come with the Cherry MX Blue switches I mentioned before, which can be quite loud and clicky. But that's very satisfying to me, and they're a lot easier to press. Now you can get a couple different sound dampener options installed on the keyboard when you order. However, I just got mine without sound dampeners, as I don't feel like I need them. I can go clicky clicky all day and night if I would like. I hope that's not innuendo for something. And of course you can get different switches on the website as well. Now this is a 10 keyless model, which means the number pad section is completely chopped off the keyboard. Which makes it a lot shorter and smaller, which has been pretty nice. It takes up a lot less space on my desk. And frankly, it's been pretty good to have that space back. Now the 6G V2 I mentioned before is also a fairly small keyboard. It's as compact as it really gets for having full-size keys and having the full keyboard. But my original gaming keyboard that I started with was the Logitech G something or another, and which had all the different macro keys and all that jazz, and it took up like my entire desk. So it's really nice coming to this really tiny keyboard, but still big enough to fit my hands on top of. The keys are LED backlit. You do not have color options. It is just a white light, and then there is a white undertone to the keyboard underneath the keys. The rest of it's black, of course. And the light shines out through the keys on the symbols or letters or what have you, and then out under them. And it looks fairly good. Like I said, you don't get any color customization, but you can change the brightness using the function keys, and then using function F12, if you have the function key system enabled on the switches on the back, you can actually turn them off entirely. I turn it off if I'm leaving my keyboard on for a long amount of time, just in case that somehow helps the LEDs stay lit longer, but I don't think you really need to. It's just if you don't want them on, you don't want them on. My model specifically came with blank, just generic keys for the Windows keys, and so I've actually swapped them out with some Portal keycaps I bought. I'll put the link to those in the description below. I don't remember the website off the top of my head, but I was just looking for custom Windows keys and found 2 Portal ones, and so they're LED backlit and they look pretty good on the keyboard as well. There are no effects to the LEDs either. It is just simply a solid backlight, but there is 7 stages of brightness. I mentioned you could change it, and I just keep them on the brightest setting because that looks what looks best to me. But if you work in a darker environment, you may actually want to lower the brightness, as at night it glows quite a bit. But they look really good. There are big rubber feet on the bottom, like huge rubber feet for a keyboard to make sure that that thing does not slide around. That combined with the general heft to the keyboard, make sure it's gonna stay where you want it on your desk. It also has 2 flip out little feet extenders to raise the height to the angle, which I found suitable to my liking. It could use with a little higher adjustment, but what it is fine for me. I still need my wrist rest for it. To me, most gaming keyboards, if they don't have a built-in wrist rest, you're gonna want a foam pad of some sort. I have this graffiti one I purchased from Massdrop. That's just a foam pad that I got for my 6G V2. And the height is still perfect for the code keyboard I got from WASD, WASD, not WASD. The USB cable is detachable. It has a micro USB port on the back. In theory, you can use your own cable as long as it's thin enough, because there are little canals to route it through the bottom of the keyboard out of 5 different directions so that you don't have the keyboard or the cable hanging out, and if you have it flat on the desk, the cable isn't causing it to be uneven. If you have it set up on the standers, the risers, that's what they're probably called, risers, you don't have to worry about cord thickness, but I still use the one that came with it just because that worked for me. It is a very short cable that comes with it though, and so you will want to keep that in mind. I could not make it reach my computer. I simply have it running to a USB hub that I have under my desk. It does come with a USB to Ps2 adapter to make sure you get the most lag-free experience if you're into that sort of thing. And it also comes with a key puller. Funnily enough, I actually just bought my own key puller about like a couple weeks before I ended up working out this review sample of this keyboard. So that was a waste of $6, but these things aren't expensive, so it's not a big deal. But it does come with a WASD branded key puller, and that goes really well with their system because they're all about customizing keyboards, and they run a bunch of like keyboard customization contests and things like that. And one of their other main keyboards is a fully customizable keyboard. So of course they include a very thin little key puller as well, which is pretty cool to see because at some point you may need to pull your keys so you can clean them or something, or just swap them out like I did. There is no logo or branding on the top of the keyboard whatsoever, which is kind of cool to see. I mean, you may want to represent on your keyboard, but it is totally brand free, which makes it fit into an environment without really being too flashy or anything. My one complaint about the overall build is the light indicators for the caps lock and scroll lock are just very tiny little circular LEDs above the number, no, it's not above the number pad, above the N-Key, there is no number pad, above like the N-Key, home key section. That's fine overall, except when I have it at the angle with the risers, I rarely like see it. It's really hard to see at that angle because the plastic kind of cuts it off and the keys kind of cut it off. So it's hard to see those lights, but that's just a very nitpicky complaint. On the back of the keyboard around those risers, it does have a switch system, which has some really interesting functionality. It allows it to switch the keyboard between QWERTY mode, which is the default, Dvorak, Coolmac, and a Mac OS X specific mode, as well as a game mode where you can use the scroll lock to disable the Windows key while you're in game, which is pretty cool. It's a little complicated and daunting to look at, like to figure out how to use while you look at it, but they do include a small user's guide and you can download it from their website. And so you'll figure, it's literally just a matter of switching the switches. And it's also what enables the function keys, which I mentioned before, can be used to change the brightness of the LED, disable the LEDs, and use the media keys. The media keys actually work quite well. I was very impressed by this. Ever since essentially like Windows 8, I've had a lot of issues with media keys on keyboards not working well. Usually the issue is if the program, such as iTunes or VLC or what have you, are in the background, aren't the main window that's up on your computer, the media keys won't access them. And on some situations, like the old Logitech G something or another keyboard I used to use, the media keys wouldn't work at all. And so you had to use some background, run drivers of specific modes to make it work, which I actually made a video on how to make my Logitech keyboard work in Windows 8 way back in the day, just because it was that difficult and people were having so much trouble with it, myself included. But I was very impressed to see that these media keys worked, again, without having convoluted driver software or anything like that, right out of the box to control iTunes, whether or not it was in the background or foreground, and switch between songs, play music, etc. And they worked very, very well and worked immediately. I did have trouble getting used to the 10 keyless mode, and again, keep in mind, I do want to disclaim that there is a full layout keyboard option of this with all the different switches available on their website as well. My specific unit was just a 10 keyless mode. It was something I've not tried before and I wanted to try, but that took a little bit of getting used to it for me. Overall, the complaints I have with it are just usual. You got to take time to get used to it stuff. But I did also have trouble with Photoshop specifically, where I had a lot of commands and functions that specifically needed to be mapped to the number pad section of the keyboard. For example, when you're typing text, if you hit the actual enter key on the number pad side of the keyboard, that closed the layer so you could start transforming it. Or if you were already transforming it, it would apply the transformation. Well, the actual return enter key does not do that. For example, when you're typing, it just makes a new line. Now, I found a workaround for this by using Control Enter, and the rest of the stuff works out okay, but everything doesn't exactly translate over well, so you gotta find the new shortcuts and things like that to get used to it. Overall, I've had a blast with this keyboard, and it gets a new award. I'm trying to do new awards for products when they deserve it, of course, and it's getting the Epos Vox Media Built to Last award, which means it's gonna be staying on my desk for quite a while, and I feel that it is built of high enough quality that it's going to last me or any other user a very long time in terms of build quality and functional volume? Man, my brain is dead today. In terms of build quality and functional value. And I just feel this WASD code keyboard deserves that award. Now, obviously the keyboard, in terms of build quality, at least the keyboard that I was using previously and mentioned before, the SteelSeries 6G V2 would deserve that award too if I were reviewing it today. But today we're focusing on the WASD code keyboard, and it gets the Epos Vox Media Built to Last award. So hopefully I have a logo for that. If not, I'm gonna look stupid here. I'm probably looking stupid here. Be sure to check out links to their product and this keyboard and things like that in the description below, where you'll also find links to our social media campaigns, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Vine, Facebook. Come follow us, stay up to date. I do specific stuff exclusively on various social media platforms. For example, I'm running a question of the week series and response to that series on Facebook only, and things like that. Check that out in the description below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button if you liked the video, or dislike it if you want to see me cry at night. And I'll catch you in the next one. My name's been Adam or Epos Vox. Have a great day.